Good morning. Good morning. Oops. Okay. I didn't do that right. There we go. All right. Now I did it right. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Hey, Cleopatra, Antonio. Hi, everyone. All right. So, woo. This morning I was working hard on, and I figured out that there was like something wrong in the dates with my memoir that I'm writing. And first of all, I was like, thank God, because it makes it all make sense, the struggle that I was having. And then at the same point, I was like, oh, crap, okay. Because I'm literally in the last like week or two of edits where I can like fix all this stuff and cut and all. I mean, it's a very intense week right now for me with editing and revising this memoir. And the memoir is like, I mean, at this point, it's like 450 Word document pages. And I've been writing it almost full time for like this last year, but, working on it and pieces of it for at least another year before that. So it's a and right now, like the publisher's deadline is like, got to be done now. And I don't know. I didn't think I expected it to be as difficult as it is to do, to really try to encapsulate not just stories from my own life, but really stories from this entire group that like how to show about this group that I grew up in and, describe what that was like from my perspective. And, I don't know, it's been a really tough thing to figure out like what to cut, like how am I explaining this in a way that people are going to get it and understand it, right? Because, and thank God for editors. That's what they help with. They help to like ask me lots and lots of questions. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize you had that idea from what I said. Or like, how did you get that from, what I wrote? Because it's tricky, right? Because like, I only know what I know, and I can't see it when other people are telling me stuff. So, hey, Precious. Hey, Luxar. Good to see you. Today, I am not really teaching anything exciting. I'm talking about my struggles right now with writing my memoir and how difficult it's been. Hey, Dudas. Imposter kid. And just, the real challenge for me right now is not just like making sure and double checking and trying to check facts and details. And, memory is faulty. And that's 100% true. So even though I call different members of my family and try to double check stuff, so I'm stressing like, okay, well, have I gotten this as accurate as I can? And then on top of it, I'm like, am I really imparting what needs to be said about this, about what was like growing up in this group, in this cult, what it was like, the impacts that these kinds of things have on people, all of these types of stories. Like, am I really creating a balanced picture of this, right? So that's kind of stressful because, I know it's my story. Hi, David. Hey, Silva, Luan Silva. Anyway, so this is my challenges today, and like right now I'm like writing crunch time. I've got to get it all done, and I still feel like I'm still so far from what I want it to be, right? I mean, do you guys ever have this idea of this project and how like I can see how amazing it can be, and I feel like if I had another year, I could do all those little lovely word tweaks and just make it all perfect. But I don't. I have like a week. So, and I feel like I've spent this whole time just trying to figure out what goes into the book and cutting stuff down, and we still have to cut more out. And, I probably have like 200 pages of stories that have gotten cut out of the book, right? So then I'm like, okay, are we still representing this in the right way? Like, it's really stressful. So it's tough writing a book. Thank you, Davis. All I can say is, on the other hand, I have to say the journey of writing a memoir, especially if you've grown up in like difficult things, and I did a lot of my healing work before I started to write the memoir. So I think that was good, but the journey of writing the memoir has also been interesting because it's helping me to see patterns in my life, helping me to see, like, there's a lot of things that I'm sure you do it like with your parents. Like, I'm never going to do that. My parents did. I'm never going to be like that. And writing the memoir is fascinating because I'm starting to see like patterns like, wait, I said I would never do that, but now I'm doing something that's reactionary to that, right? So I've pushed myself, I'm getting the same result because I've pushed myself so far to the other side in a reaction to say something that my mother did, right? Or my father did. And so starting to see those kind of familial patterns coming through is also fascinating, because the thing is, like, when we don't understand our patterns, and they can control us. And now that I understand and I have tools for how to deal with those patterns, right, to how to deal with those issues, the big problem is when I don't know what they are. Hey, Mike. Thank you, Luxar. Says, good luck. Don't be stressed. I'm always with you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so right now is a bit stressful, like, down to the wire. I'm trying to edit 100 pages a day. And, like, try to make sure it's all internally consistent, when I've moved stories around, and it's a lot. It's a lot. But more than that, it's like, for me, it's like, am I really getting out the thing that I want to say, like all of this rush to like finish and edit and move and cut and stuff. I'm like, is the end product really going to be what I want? Are people going to walk away with what I want them to feel and to hear and to say? So I think that's probably one of the biggest things for me right now, other than simply just the time constraint of editing completely. But yeah, like I was saying though, it can be helpful to go back and look at your parents' lives and look at the decisions that they made and the choices that they made, because sometimes we feel like, well, I'm not like my parents, or I'm not doing anything like them. But we may be living out a pattern in a totally different way. And those things have really deep impacts on our subconscious. So that's one of the things I've seen from this that's been helpful, is starting to spot some patterns that I didn't spot before, even though I've managed to spot quite a few previously. Say about the generation gap between child and parents. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, what would you like me to talk about that generation gap? I mean, there's definitely a big generation gap as far as, like for me, I feel like a lot of times as children we're reactionary, right? So like my parents, my mother was like this freewheeling hippie, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to be serious. I'm going to study, and I'm going to, I become a lawyer and I dress professionally, right? So, or, she was someone who, she felt like she always needed a man, so she was constantly in a relationship, and oftentimes even if they weren't necessarily a good relationship. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be super independent and I'm never going to need a man, right? But is that really getting me what I want, right? When I'm saying, cool, actually, I really would love to be in a relationship and to have that love and that connection and family. See? So that recognizing when maybe our reaction against, right, pushing against something that our parents do is actually creating something we don't want in our own life, right? Some people have the other problem. So like Lexa was saying, I love my parents and family, but I also have my own dreams, but they won't understand. 100%. And, you have to ask yourself, is this my life or is it theirs, right? Because this is your life. This is what you came to do. I'm sorry. She says, I'm internally depressed. Let me tell you something that happened to me. I grew up my whole life in a group, a very tight-knit family, religious group. Really, really strong concepts of what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. This is your path. You don't have any other path. This is, you're going to do this and that's it, right? And my whole life was mapped out for me that this was the path. And not only was this the path of my parents, right? This was God's will. And I had no choice. This was what I was supposed to do. This was God's will. And after living in that for like 22 years, I finally got to the point, and I didn't really know anything else, right? Because it was a very restrictive group. We didn't have, when I was growing up, there wasn't the internet or cell phones or stuff like that. So when they restricted you as far as what you could read or what you could study, I didn't go to school. So I didn't get a lot of outside stuff. And so what happened is, like, it took me a long time to get to the point where I was like, I have these dreams. I have these dreams that my parents didn't believe in going to college or getting an education, and I really wanted that, right? And it wouldn't matter if my parents had thought you have to go to college and get an education, and I wanted to go be an entrepreneur, right? That didn't matter. The point was that I had my dream of what I wanted to do. And when I thought I can't do it within this restrictive group, I became depressed. I became really depressed because I wanted to serve. I was like, I believe in these ideals, in helping others, in serving God, in loving the world, but I can't see. This is what I think depression is. When you can't see a vision of your life on the path that you are on that looks appealing or attractive to you, or like something you want to live. So the vision of my life on that path, staying in that restrictive religious group, staying on that path, not being able to get educated, I knew what that life was going to look like. I was supposed to marry someone in the group, and then I was going to have kids, and then I was going to be a teacher, and I was going to, all of this stuff that my life was mapped out, that I'd seen my parents live that life. And oh my God, that just made me feel horrible. It was the last thing I wanted. But it was hard to say that, right? It's hard to say that to them when they feel like this is God's will. And so I tried really hard to be that good girl. I tried to be dedicated. I tried to do all that stuff. And then I was like, I got depressed. I was depressed, and I was just like, oh my God, like, if I don't see a vision of a life within this path, on this group, that I think that makes me feel happy and inspired, that's why I was depressed. But I thought I had to stay in that. And I'll tell you what, you don't have to stay in that. You don't have to stay on that path that somebody else has mapped out for you. There are thousands, there are millions of paths out there. And when I made the decision, I said, you know what? I'm not going to be depressed. This is not right for me. I'm not going to be depressed. And if that means leaving behind this group, leaving behind what my family wants, leaving behind all of that. And for me, it was going to college. So I didn't even have any money to go. I left home. I took an English teaching job for the summer to make enough money so that I could buy my ticket to fly to America and try to go to a community college, because I didn't even have money for college. I didn't have any of that. But when I made that decision, I said, I'm going to do it. This is my dream. I'm going to go do it. And you know what? If my parents don't like it, that's too bad. You know what? They will. And guess what? They caught up. Okay. I did have to go do it on my own for a while. But they caught up. And once I had done what I set out to do, then they were happy for me. You see? Says I've tried a lot, but no results happen. Still, I'm trying to express myself. So this is the thing, though, sometimes you just have to do it. Sometimes you can't just try to express yourself, right? If I just tried to talk to them and talk to these people in this restrictive environment, because their minds were controlled within a restrictive environment, you see? Hey, Sophia. If I just tried to talk to them, that wouldn't have worked because they were trapped within their framework. I had to just say, this is what I'm going to do, and go do it. And I had to take responsibility to do it for myself. I knew they weren't going to help me. They weren't going to help me financially. They weren't going to help me with anything else, right? That was just totally up to me. But when I took my power and I went out there and I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way. this is my dream, I'm doing it no matter what, I had to take responsibility. You see, it had to be mine. They weren't going to help me, and I knew that. See, that's really the challenge. But when I made that decision and I left, yeah, oh my God, it was hard. But all of a sudden my heart opened up and I wasn't depressed anymore, because now I saw there were other paths. There were other paths in front of me that looked happy, that looked exciting, that looked like, oh wow, that's a dream, that's a goal I really want to go after and get, right? And I didn't have that when I stayed within that restrictive family and that restrictive group and on that path that they had set for me. So yes, narrow-minded society also affects this. Yes, and I'm sure that is 100% true, right? So, I mean, I was living in my own mini-cosm of a very narrow-minded society. But these narrow-minded societies are everywhere, right? They're as big as countries. They're as big as whole, groups of people. It's not, you can be living in a narrow-minded society or group of people, right? Whether it's your personal family or it's your personal, like your religious group or your cultural group or your country. They all have these ideas and plans of how life should be lived. And sometimes, what can be good is to read memoirs of people who have broken out of that and who have gone and claimed their own power. That can be inspiring to see examples of other people that have done that, and that can help inspire us to go and do that, ourselves. Because, if you stay in something that is making you depressed, there's lots of great techniques and tactics that we can use to help increase our sort of emotional vibration, right? Listening to happy music and things like that can help cheer us up. Those are all great. But if fundamentally the path that you are on is not the path that you see a future for yourself in, that you love and want to be in, then you can't just use cool tactics and techniques to get out of depression. You have to get off that path. You have to say, how can I go after my real dream? What is that real dream, and how do I go after it? If you start going after it, Mike says societies don't have minds, but they can have mindsets. They can have principles, right? They can have sort of these governing beliefs that are very narrow-minded. So, so just, whatever it is, figure out what it is you want to do and just start trying to do something. Just go with it. Just do something to start on that path. And you know what? If you discover that you really can't go after your dreams, thank you. If you really can't go after your dreams, sometimes you got to change paths entirely, like I did. Because the group that I was in wouldn't even let me get an education. So sometimes you just gotta get off that path and get on a new path. Get on your own path. That's all I could say. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Florina. So don't let depression rule your life. If you need to get on a new path, get on a new path. But you'd be surprised at how many little things you could do that can start that. Once you make that decision, you can start taking little steps to getting there. And whether you have to do something abrupt like I did, which was just I had to leave the entire group and my family and everything, or whether you can just say, this is my path, this is my goal, and I'm going to start taking these little steps to get there. Either way, that will pull you out because you're going for what you really want. All right? I hope that was helpful. Yeah, a lot of things affects it, and it's not something that you can just kind of talk about quickly, like in a few minutes. I agree. So I love it that you come on and ask me questions, and then we can keep digging into it and getting more and more out there. All right? But don't give up on your dream. Whatever that dream is, if you just start taking actual concrete steps towards it, you will feel better. You will feel better, for sure. All right? Have a great, great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.